Hello and welcome to today's episode of Cooking Out and About. Well, the weather outside is certainly frightful, so we're not on the move today. We're staying inside today because it's just a bit too cold to get out there. I woke up this morning and it was about 18 degrees out, so definitely too cold to go out and about. Well, on cold wintry days like this, and in Massachusetts, you know, we have a lot of cold wintry days, there's nothing like staying at home, cuddling up on the couch with a nice cup of maybe hot soup or something else to warm your tummy. So that's what we're going to be doing today. I have two soups we're going to try. We're going to start with. The first one I discovered, actually both of them I discovered, I had a progressive dinner party about a month ago, and one of the stops was at my house, and we were the soup and salad stop. So this first one I'm going to do was one I found in a cookbook that was put together by the same group that was having this progressive dinner. So that was nice. People all knew who had created the recipe. It's going to be an onion soup that we're going to start off for. Now, it's going to take about 30 minutes to cook. It's about 30 minutes or so before you're ready to serve this. You're going to take 3 tablespoons of butter, and we're just going to melt it in a pan. And not too hot. You don't want it to scorch or anything. And I'll just let that melt a little bit. This is a colonial onion soup. It's the complete name. So, all right, and to that, we'll let that melt a little. To that, you're going to add 2 large onions. Now, so I'm not crying on TV. I went ahead when I was at home getting ready for today. I cut the onions up already. You want to cut them pretty thin. Some of these I cut a little thicker. I'm just going to start putting them in, and I'll show you what some of them look like. When you do cut it, you want to cut it so basically you're going to make nice rings out of it is what you want it to look like. So you get these rings, kind of like you get an onion ring, you know, if you go out to a restaurant, except we're not frying these up, obviously. And you're going to let that cook for 3 minutes or so until they get tender. I'm using kind of a small pot. You might want to go with a bigger pot. I'm using this one only because I was using my bigger pot for the other soup we're going to make. And these hot plates can only hold so much. Like I said, 2 large onions. Next thing you're going to do is you need 2 egg yolks. Now, for that, you can do one of 2 ways. First way is you get an egg separator, which I got for Christmas, but didn't bring it with me because I'm sure most of you probably don't have an egg separator. So the other way to do it is you just take your egg, crack it lightly, and I found it's best if they're really cold, and just real lightly pull it apart so you get 2 halves, and then just shift it, toss it back and forth, and let the egg white fall out. Now, what you can do, if you're going to be using the egg whites for a meringue or something, you want to be real careful not to get your yolk into the white because that'll affect how it'll whip up. But now, some people may wonder, you know, what do I do with the egg whites after I'm done? Well, there's a couple different things. One, you can make a meringue. You just whip up the egg whites and whip them up with a little bit of sugar, and then you can bake that. Or you could do an egg white omelet, which some people do if they're trying to cut down on cholesterol. All right, so I'm just going to whip them up real light. Doesn't take a whole lot. One thing about this, actually, I was doing a recipe for mousse a couple weeks ago, and it said whip your egg whites, so I'm like, all right, or beat them, and I beat them with my little fork, and then I found later on the cookbook, it said beat the egg whites, and that was, or the egg yolks, rather, excuse me. You're supposed to beat them for 5 minutes with the rotary beaters until they're thickened, kind of a lemony yellow. So depending on your recipe, you might want to double check or see if you can find somewhere else. Sometimes in the back of cookbooks, it'll tell you exactly what a particular definition means. I'm just going to give my onions a little bit of a stir. From medium or so heat. All right. And this one you're going to want to probably have some mince available afterwards for people that don't like onions or people that will have onion breath. All right. Now to this egg, the eggs, you're going to add 6 cups of milk, which this bowl here actually holds 6 cups. And you'll stir that up a little bit. All right. And I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of salt if you want. If you're trying to cut out your salt, that's okay too. It's really just more for flavoring, and 1/4 of a teaspoon of nutmeg. So now we'll stir this in, and you're just going to pour it in to your onions. Now, I doubled this recipe when I had done it before because I was making it for about 40 people, so I knew this wasn't going to be enough. This will make about 6 first course servings if you're just having it as, you know, an appetizer type of dish, or it'll make about 8 first course servings, or 6 if you're serving it as like the main course. All right, and basically you're just going to let that sit on about medium heat or so until it gets warm, about a half an hour. And you don't want to keep it too high, because when I made it last time, it had kind of curdled a little bit, and some people had wondered about it. They said it didn't change the taste any, but they had just wondered what the lumps in it were. So just kind of keep an eye on it. Don't let it get too hot. All right, now this next soup, like I said, I was having the soup party, and somebody had gone ahead and bought a soup for me. I was like, well, I need soups. What am I going to do? And what you're going to need for this one, and I'll tell you a little history behind it, is 2 cans of chicken broth, 2 cans of beef broth, 4 cans of water, a can, let's see, what size am I using? About a 16-ounce can of, I'm using crushed tomatoes. You can use ground tomatoes or stewed tomatoes. 1 cup of pasta, 1 cup of rice, or if you don't have the rice, you can or don't like rice, you can substitute, just do 2 cups of pasta, probably 2 cups of rice. You want to be real careful about that, though, and I'll explain that later. Now, this soup was from a friend of mine, and it's her great-grandmother's recipe, and it's called, let's see, I have to see if I can pronounce it right, Memes. It's spelled M-M-M-E, apostrophe S, but it's pronounced Memes, and it's zoop with a Z, rather than an S. This is a very simple recipe, and it came from a woman who had 12 kids. So with 12 kids, you can imagine that times probably tough with that many kids, and there wasn't always a lot to go around. So you had to kind of improvise, and that's what she did. So what I have going here is I have my 2 cans of beef broth, just the regular size cans, the 16-ounce cans, and my 2 cans of chicken broth, and the 4 cans of water. And I got it boiling ahead of time, and we'll add the pasta. And what you do is you just kind of cook until the pasta's done. And I had some of it going already. So, anyway, so you cook about 8 minutes or so. You can go a little less for the pasta because it'll continue to cook itself. Once that's done, once the pasta's all cooked, you'll add your tomatoes, and then you'll add chicken. Now, what I did for the chicken, I can just show you, is when I had done it last time, we had bought some chicken, just regular chicken breast, and kind of cooked it real lightly and then added it. But I didn't really have time for that, and, you know, to go to the store and then prepare that chicken. So what I did, and probably cost about the same amount, took a little bit of time still, is I bought one of those pre-cooked chickens that you can get at most supermarkets. They cost about $4, and you just rip it apart. I peeled the skin off, and you can add that to your soup as well. Or if you want to keep it, you could keep it without that. All right, so once your pasta's going, go ahead, we'll add our tomatoes, and stir that up a little. And this is really good, and it's very simple. And my friend was suggesting that, you know, if all of a sudden, say, someone comes over for dinner, an extra person, add an extra can of water, and you're all set. Same thing if you're making it for leftovers. Just add a little more water, and it'll be good. It'll be fine. When I did it before, we used some sprinkled Romano cheese on it for a little extra cheesy flavor. And everyone, this is the soup that went first at my soup party. Everyone was raving about it. And we'll add the chicken as well. And basically, same thing as with the onion soup. You just kind of let it simmer. You can put it in a crock pot, and really it can sit all day. So you can also add, my friend suggested adding some spices, some basil, some garlic if you wanted. I would imagine you can even add vegetables if you want to make it even a little more healthier. Take some carrots, broccoli, whatever suits your fancy for vegetables. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, I'm going to do a couple more dishes that will also help warm you up on a cold winter night. We'll be right back.
the car.
He's not coming. Boy. Dad, what are you doing?
These are for you.
Mom, what's he doing?
Oh, good evening, Mrs. Larson. I can certainly see where Melissa gets her good looks. Come on, honey. Buy some French fries, huh?
You're spoiling me, Dad.
You can drive. Next time.
Dad.
Come on, sweetheart. Go on, honey. Yes. Okay, let's go. I'll have her home early.
Okay.
I understand Mr. Larson doesn't like it if you're late. All right.
Take a moment and make a memory from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Math, a four-letter word, right? Hey, you don't need that. Why design the world's newest chips? When you could be flipping the world's oldest burgers. Hey, wait a minute. This is math. Geometry, algebra. No pocket protectors here. But you're cruising without math. Yeah, right. Take a good look. That's math staring back at you. It's not a problem, man. It's an answer. Call NACME. We'll tell you what you need to do.
I'm ready. Okay, we're back. And, okay, so maybe you don't like soup, so maybe you want to go for a pasta dish instead. So what this is kind of an accompaniment to a pasta. So we don't have to obviously, cooking pasta is pretty easy. You open a box, toss it in a pan of boiling water. But for something to go with it, what I have here is a grill pan. Now, as you can see, it has lines on it, like your grill outside would do. And maybe, obviously, it's a little cold out, so you don't want to be grilling outside, so you have a grill pan. What we're going to do first, to start off, is we're going to do some zucchini. And you're just going to lightly brush a little bit of oil on each side of the zucchini. And you can do it in strips if you want. Just what I've done here. And this is, if you do it real light especially, and I'm using olive oil, or 10% olive oil. It's not too bad to oil. All oil is not bad for you. Especially if you use it in moderation, it's fine. And you can also do it in circles. Now, basically, if you're not using this as a side dish, if you're going to use it to go with a pasta, you'll be cutting it up later. You can just, for now, I'm just going to keep it like this. Now you're going to cook it till it's kind of tender and cooked on both sides. Let me find my spatula for turning. And these are cooking a little fast, so that's okay. And you can see they're going to get nice brown, and you should actually be able to get the grill marks on it. Which is a nice touch. And you can fool people, say, oh yes, I was out cooking on the grill today. And you can probably do it without the oil too, if you want, but might not necessarily want to do that. I find it works a little bit better if you do use the grill. And then the oil. Just a little bit about it. You can see I just really lightly brushed it on. Our soups here are looking really good. They're getting ready, almost ready to serve. Pasta's all pretty much done on this one. Again, I discovered you could do it with the chew pasta instead of a pasta and a rice because my mother doesn't like rice, so she's like, oh, let's do pasta. So sometimes you have to do what your mother wants. But my friend did emphasize on this mimi soup that you do not want to use more than the 2 cups or whatever you're using because it'll soak up all the broth and you won't have any broth left for your soup. All right, these look nice. Might want to cook it on, I'm using a pretty high heat. Might want to cook it a little lower. But you can cook it on both sides. Like I said, when you're done, when you're ready to put it on, you'll just cut it up into bite-sized pieces. All right, I'm just going to slide this off for right now. And again, what I've been doing, you can see that looks really nice. You could do other kinds of zucchini too if you wanted. Right now, zucchini though is kind of expensive in this store. I guess there's a cold front somewhere in the world wherever zucchini grows. But you can do the yellow zucchini. It's also, sometimes it's hard to find. It's actually in the squash section. And the zucchini is sometimes difficult to recognize the green zucchini because it looks a lot like cucumbers. But the way you can tell, it's slightly different shape and it doesn't have the wax on it that a cucumber would have on it. Now, the next thing I'm going to do, if you like it, because I know some people don't care for this, and if you're having guests, find out what your guests like, is we're going to do some grilled shrimp. And these are just baby shrimp. I got the smaller ones just because they were on sale. Now, one thing with the shrimp is they always have these little tails on. These are the pre-cooked shrimp that I got. And I've noticed when I've gone out to restaurants with my mother, because she likes to get dishes with shrimp, like a shrimp scampi, these tails are always on and she has to sit there and pick at it and pull it apart. Now, if you're at a restaurant, you don't necessarily want to do that. And same thing if you're at your home. You don't necessarily want to get your hands all messy. It's not like you're eating ribs or chicken or something. So what I discovered is if you take this kind of flappy part here, and while holding the harder base, just give it a real gentle twist. The rest of the base just slides right off. So I'll show you a couple more. And that way you don't lose any of your shrimp in the tail, because sometimes you end up missing some of the shrimp. And you don't want to lose out on any, especially if you're, paying. Again, shrimp right now is kind of expensive too. This was on special. I always go for whatever's on sale, just because it's cheaper. And I'm a frugal shopper, so I believe in doing that. And these, again, if you have the bigger shrimp, you'll get more of the grill lines. Just cook it until it's really nice and hot. Whoops, lost one, but that's okay. And when it gets kind of brown and hot, flip them over. There you go. Now, what I have been doing, like I said, for tossing this over pasta, I've been putting the zucchini back in with the shrimp, and for that, after that, I've been pouring some white wine over it and cooking up the white wine just to a nice little simmer with the zucchini and the shrimp, and then pouring that over pasta. And that's really good. And I was going to do that, and I was going to bring the wine on, but I only had an open bottle of wine, and I didn't want to, have this open bottle of wine in my car and then get stopped. If God forbid I got stopped on the way coming here, and this cop saw me with an open bottle of wine, and then I wouldn't be able to be here to do the show. So, all right, I'm going to take these off so I can do the next one. Put it on that burner. Now, the last thing I want to do for you today is called a bruschetta. Now, I first had this when I was in Italy, and I thought, wow, this is great. And then, of course, when I came back now, I've been seeing it in all the Italian restaurants. So this is even a restaurant I know by that. I think I've seen one by that name somewhere. So I don't know if it's just been discovered now in America, or if it's always been here, or what have you. But it's really good, and so whenever we go out now, we tend to get this. Now, first thing you're going to do is you're going to take French bread, which I've cut at an angle. And depending on how crispy you want your bread, you can put it in the toaster oven ahead of time and kind of toast it, or not your toaster oven, just your regular oven. Put it about 350 on a cookie sheet. And I'm going to go ahead and do that just for a couple minutes. And while that's cooking, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take tomatoes that I've diced, not chopped. But diced is just kind of cutting them into little baby cubes. And I'm just going to heat that up. Now, some restaurants I've had it in, I don't think they don't do this with their tomatoes, and that's fine too. You might be able to get it hot enough in the oven. I myself like it very hot, so we're just going to heat these up just ever so slightly. Put some garlic on them, lots of garlic. If you have real crushed garlic, use that over the powdered. I guess garlic's very good for you. It's very healthy. But I guess if you use the powder, it doesn't do as much for you. All right, so we'll just let that heat for a minute. I'll check back on my soup, see how that's coming. This is coming perfect. You can see the shells have been, the elbows of the macaroni is now expanded. Of course, when it gets cooked, it does that. I snuck a little taste of the chicken while we were at the break just to see how that was, and it was very tender, very good. I noticed the chicken I had used last time was a little bit dry, and that was the stuff that we had kind of cooked ourselves a little bit in a pan. So I don't know if that really made, what kind of difference that made. All right, so that's heating up nice. So what we're gonna do is we'll take this one out. And you can cook it on both sides if you want to get it a little crispier. But what you do is take your tomatoes, and we're just going to put it on top of the bread. And just gently, depends on how many you like. Now, my mother does not like tomatoes at all, but she always gets bruschetta anyways, and she'll pick off the tomatoes, and she just likes it for the taste. Because you do get a little bit of, you get a nice tomato taste in it. But all right. And then on top of that, what you're going to do is going to take some nice mozzarella cheese, just the shredded. And you can use Italian bread for this too if you want. Obviously you can use bigger pieces. You can cut it in the different ways. This is just one of the ways we have it. They serve it in the restaurants, so that's how I'm doing it this way. And then from there, you just stick it in the oven until the cheese is melted, maybe lightly golden brown. All right, now I don't have a dessert per se to show you, but again, it's a cold winter's night. What are you going to do for dessert? You want something to cuddle up with. A couple suggestions I can make you is if you have a cake mix, we love to make hot chocolate cake, maybe some cupcakes, and eat it fresh from the oven, no frosting or anything, just a nice big glass of milk. Another thing we like to do is if you go to the store in the pudding section, and there's the pudding, and it'll say for like pie. It's not the instant pudding, it's the stuff you have to cook on the stove. And you cook that up, and that's really great to eat just hot, straight from the pan. You put it in a little bowl, let it cool ever so slightly. Also, tapioca pudding is another great dessert to warm you up. So I hope you're all staying warm in this cold winter time. That's all the time we have for today. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time. And remember, no matter what you're cooking or where you're cooking, have fun doing it.